Hi, this is Milo for bestpokercoaching.com, and this video is a bonus video for the 3-betting course. Actually, this video is not about 3-betting at all. It's about pre-flop strategy in the big blind. So which hands should you defend? Now, this is a really general chart which I use myself. I made this together with Gordon, and I used Flopzilla and logical thinking and poker stove to make these charts. They are really general though. Well, as you can see here, this is against, by the way, this means that these two charts are for villains who 3x against me, so we make it 3 big blinds. I have another chart on the left here, I'll show it, versus mini steel, which I made as well, and it's a lot looser as you see it, like it contains about 80% of the hands. Anyway, let's go back to the other one. So when they 3x you, when the guy 3x you 100% of the time, actually the break-even folding point is about 37%, so which means that if we don't want to be exploited, we should play at least 37% of the hands. It's about 43-44%, as you can see, so we're not directly exploitable pre-flop. We could play a little bit looser. It kind of depends on the opponent. For example, if I see an opponent which has a very low flop continuation bet, I put in those extra aces as well and some other hands, because I know that I can get to showdown a lot more if they don't continuation bet very often. Yes, then as you see here as well, I already put it in the chart. Versus passive villains with a low flop continuation bet, you can call more pre-flop because you get more equity. Well, you can realize your equity more on the flop and on the turn. For example, you can call way more ace-x offsuited and some king-x offsuited hands versus passive villains. It goes the same for this range versus 50% stealers. It's the same concept. Because you'll get to the turn, river / showdown more often. Versus aggressive opponents, you should be tighter and lean more towards hands with monster potential, like suited hands. Because if they're aggressive, you can raise your draw, or you can you're gonna play a big pot with aggressive people anyway. So then, if you have a suited hand with a monster potential, it fits those opponents better. Whereas passive opponents, normally, if you have like a small pot with like an ace, one pair kind of pots, it fits those opponents better. So you can kind of alter a little bit, but in general this is a pretty good chart. So here's a guy who makes it 3x, and we have, for example, we have 3 jack of suited, so we go to the 50% steal, and we see 3 jacks of suited is not in there, so we fold. Or actually we think we could have 3-betted as well, excuse me, because this fold to 3-bet is so ridiculously high. Normally I never play one and no limit anymore, but it's like, it's fun to show stuff. And geez, I mean, we can even, I mean, we should 3-bet here. The only thing is that he's going to fold so much that I make it a little bit smaller than normally. Yeah, he's going to fold some more. We should like put almost 3-bet every hand here against him. Now he 3-bets us, and what can we do? Well, it's only 16% is 3-bet, so we're just gonna call, and we flop almost the nuts. So it looks like he's giving up here. So I mean, just in case he has an ace or a 10, well, 10 I'm not afraid of, but an ace or something, I'm making a small bet. I mean, it looks really silly, but I don't know what he's gonna do. Maybe he does something really silly, you know. Oh. No, he's not. I didn't think we could get a lot out of that. Normally I'm more inclined, normally you should fold this. For example, as you can see, it's clearly not in our range to call. However, I would call it because my difference between my post-flop play and this guy's post-flop play is so big. As you can see, this continuation bet is 41. So normally you should fold if you don't feel that you have a huge action on the other guy. But this guy is so passive that I'm just going to call. And this is a really dry flop. So he might actually continuation bet here as a bluff, but since his continuation bet is so low, I'm just not going to play any fancy. fancier than I should necessarily do so. It makes it 3x, and you know, you can see it's 6-5 suited, it's just in there. So we can call, I mean, we can 3-bet as well. 3-bet, I mean, this 3-bet, fold to 3-bet is so ridiculously high that I think we should just 3-bet. You can even make it fairly small because he's folding anyway. Yeah. Anyway, let's focus on the big blind play. Actually, this guy is not such a good example because he folds to 3-bet so much that we can pretty much play every hand on the big blind by just raising him. At some point he will get it though. How much are we gonna make it here? Well, like half a pot size bet is fine. And he's folding a lot, especially on dry flops. So no, you can 3-bet here profitably as well. Of course you can 3-bet against this guy every hand profitably, but I think I make more money in the long term if I flop a set, and of course if I flop a set I don't have to flop a set, like now I don't. The thing is, if I make it a 3-bet and he does 4-bet, there is no way I can call with my trees. So because I mean you just don't hit enough post flop, so that's why I like to call with like low pocket pairs instead of 3-betting them. I see a lot of people actually 3-betting them. I think they're the worst hands to 3-bet. Like you just flop so bad that there's just so pointless to. Now of course we're gonna bet on a flop like this. When he calls, I'm just gonna give up here. I mean, he could have ace high. The other hand, jack 10 got there, and some queen jack something, queen 10, which could have called as well. Now we beat ace high. Do I think we can make a bet here? I mean, he could have an 8. Is he calling with ace high? I don't think so. This guy's too nitty, so I'm just gonna check behind. You see he has the 8. I almost feel like a crime to 3-bet ace 10 suited here, because it's just such a good hand. But and he's gonna fold so much. But you know, we take the pot down anyway. It's not a bad result to take the pot down, because I mean, even with ace 10 or ace 10 suited, which looks really nice, you still miss most flops. We could make it a little bit bigger here because we actually have a pair and there is a flush draw on the board as well. Now once he decides to call, I'm not going to do anything anymore unless we hit something. I mean, the flush got there. I mean, he might fold a 7. That's the only hand he might be able to fold, but he probably has an ace, to be honest. 5s, wow, I didn't expect that. Wow, we would have folded that for sure on the turn. Anyway, we just keep on pounding the guy. Oh, he 3-bets us. This 3-bet is still 16%, so just as a to implement everything from the course. I don't know why this is not working. Ah, here. So like 16%, we have queen 10 of suited, so we can call. No point in 4-betting the guy. Actually, this guy would be a somewhat decent player to 4-bet bluff. Then he makes the continuation bet. As you can see, his continuation bet in re-raise spots is really low, 33% so far, even though it's a limited sample size. But we just fold. This continuation bet in general is really low, so that's normally a fairly decent indication of his continuation bet in re-raise pots as well. I saw here, oh, he makes it mini. Oh, this is kind of interesting. So now you can show this chart again. Well, as you can see, 10-4 offsuited is normally in the folding range. I'm just going to do it for the video. I'm going to fold it because I think against this guy I would have such a post flop advantage that I think I can actually play it profitably as well. So you can adjust a little bit based on those charts, but use the chart as a basis. So after that hand, the match got really boring. So I just want to show you one more figure in my chart. It is the open range versus 100% pre-flop callers, or versus people who who play like 90% of their hands. Then I start adjusting by opening a little bit less hands, but only if their fold to continuation bet is really low as well. Like if their fold to continuation bet is higher than, let's say, 35 or 40%, then I can still play 100% of my hands profitably because I make money on the flop by taking the flop down with a continuation bet. The other thing is, if you have a really good opponent, like a really good regular, well, first of all, you should probably stop playing him, but if you still want to play him, and he 3-bets you a lot as well, like let's say he 3-bets you like 25-30%, and his total VPIP is like 60 or 70, then you should probably adjust a little bit by eliminating some of your pre-flop range as well, like the offsuited deuces and the offsuited threes. So that's when I start looking at this chart. But it happens very rarely that I actually use this chart. Like normally, like Gordon does, I raise 100% on the buttons.